Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fuzzy Memories from the Road. I am Brandy Green, and with me, as always, is...
And I'm Dustin Pari, and this is an episode I actually remember, kind of.
Yeah, well, good, because then we're on the same page. So this one was called Hitler's Ghost. Which, I mean, we looked for Hitler in a lot of different areas, but this one was actually specifically Hitler's ghost.
Right. And in Argentina, of course, because we're going with conspiracy theories at this point.
I know. Look what I have.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
So, you know, the funny thing is I have not cracked this thing open, like, seriously, since we, like, filmed. And... again, it's just a bunch of Wikipedia pages.
Right. You can do your own research. If you want to join in at home, just go to Wikipedia, right, to Argentina Hotel Hitler's Ghost, and you'll have the same amount of research we had to get started.
Well, you know, it's what every good conspiracy is based off of.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what I remember about this place, it was actually called the Gran Hotel Viena. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the GHI episodes that it was just one location, one episode, which I always kind of liked because we were able to spend kind of more time like explaining things and just, I don't know. I just like those episodes better.
I think it always made more sense, you know, even from a viewer standpoint, because you really get a chance to get into it a little bit more. Even when they did the 50-50 split between two cases per show, it was okay, but I hated when they had like 3/4 of the show was one case, then you knew the one coming up was absolute garbage because you only had like 12 minutes.
Yep.
That was the worst.
Minus commercial breaks.
Yeah.
So this place, when we got there, it was basically just all in ruin. So kind of the cool thing about this town, it was sort of like a beach resort vibe.
Yeah, I felt like we're in like an abandoned like carnival by the seashore kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, so this it's in Cordoba, Miramar, Argentina, and it sat on the shores of Mar Chiquita, and it's the largest saltwater lake in South America or in the Southern Hemisphere, something like that. And what had happened was this location had been built, I think, around World War II, roughly. And it was a huge resort and spa during like the 30s and 40s. And then soon after the war, though, it kind of took on like a different vibe.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of rumors that after the war, a lot of the SS, you know, soldiers and even Hitler himself traveled to Argentina, which was a big backer for the Nazi, you know, party.
Right.
I mean, truly.
Yeah.
That they had secretly, you know, come to Argentina to hide out, and that this spa actually apparently did plastic surgery to change the look of individuals that were in hiding.
Right. I remember they had one photo of what was supposedly Hitler standing out at the waterfront there in front of the hotel, which, I mean, even if he had plastic surgery, it was still kind of a stretch. It was the dark-haired guy looking at the water, maybe.
Which are in South America, like everyone has dark hair.
Yeah, right. It wasn't like he was saluting or doing anything specific, but you could tell, though. I mean, you could tell by the look and the feel of the hotel that back in the earlier days, in the 30s and 40s, that this was like a real like posh, high-end place. You know, even though it was kind of falling apart when we were there, you could tell that this was a destination for people at that time. And kind of to me, it had a nice like romantic feel because of that. You know, you're thinking about the heyday of this place and what went on there, and you get away from the chasing Hitler's ghost thing, and it was a really wonderful place just to explore and kind of check out. And just even though, like you said, you know, it was in ruins, but with the backdrop of the water and everything, it was still really cool and really pretty to check out.
Right. And so what happened was, so we have this, you know, conspiracy theory about Hitler and the Nazis being there and whatever. That aside, in I think it was the like the 70s or like early 80s, I'm not quite sure, somewhere in there, the lake actually had flooded, and that it flooded the town. Because having been there, like it's a lot like Venice, where it literally sits on the water. Like there is no break. Um, and so the lake had flooded, and it had destroyed houses and the hotel and all of that. So really what's left is this broken down seaside resort community that's really kind of in shambles. It's overrun with stray dogs. What was funny about this place was we stayed sort of on location. I think we were like a mile away.
Yeah, you could walk to the place.
Right. It was a long walk, but it was a walk, you know, you
A mile, that's not that long. A mile's not that long.
Yeah, but you kind of had to go up and around.
Oh my God.
I remember walking to it, and like on the way there's like a skull of like a dog, like there's like skeletal remains. It makes you feel like you're like trekking through the desert, you know.
Yeah, and of course it was off season, as always is for us. So the wonderful little seaside town was abandoned. Like all the gift shops are closed. There was one market that was open like limited hours. That was the only thing I remember going to.
Yeah, it's true. So we stayed in these little stilted apartments.
Again, because the water rose, you had to be high up off the ground.
Right. And so I just remember Ashley and I shared one. I think you and Barry.
Yeah, Barry and I shared a place. And Joe Chin was upstairs, I think.
Yeah, I think he lucked out because I think he got his own place.
His own place. Yeah. That's what happens when you're Joe Chin, ladies and gentlemen.
And then the crew stayed. There was like a motel just not far away either that they kind of all stayed at. So we were all kind of within the same area, but it was kind of nice to have like your own semi normal.
Almost like an apartment a little bit, you know? Like I remember there was, you had your own stove, your own fridge. So we did go to the market for the limited hours it was open and bought some things. I remember like Barry cooked one night, and Joe can't cook. So I made pasta one night for everybody. And I bought popcorn kernels at that little store. And you can never really tell with Barry if he's being honest or not. But Barry claimed he never had popcorn that wasn't made in a microwave before. And so I made it for him in a pan, and he was like literally watching it like it was the most novel thing going on. And I was like, yeah, this is how we used to make it before microwaves, Barry. Like, I guess he just never got a lot of popcorn in Ireland. But it was great. And like you mentioned, like with the dogs everywhere, we had one particular dog that stayed in our apartment quite a bit. I named her Sassy. Barry named her Sassy. She was black and she had long eyelashes and little patches of white on her. There's a photo of her in one of my books too. I think it was just amazing. Like she just hung out with us and ate all the table scraps and everything, you know, so it was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I had like a very similar experience. I did all of the cooking the entire time we were there. I cooked for me, Ashley, Rob, and Paul. So all four of us. And I remember going to that market and like before going, like translating all the things I would need. Right? Because this place was like a general store with a market. It was kind of an all-in-one kind of place. And so like I made homemade red sauce like from scratch, and we used it for spaghetti one night, and then we used the leftover for pizza one night. And like it was just this whole thing. And I remember having Ashley so they didn't have like grated cheese,
Right.
you know, like you can get here.
Yeah, you just buy a block.
There's just a block of cheese. And so I said, here you go, Ashley. Here's the grater. So she's like, you know, like 20 minutes later, she's like, is this enough?
The old ways of doing things.
So that was kind of cool, though, being able to, you know, finally kind of just feel a little, you know, it's the little things that can kind of make you feel a little more comfortable, you know, some familiar things. But in terms of the location, investigating, so we talked about massively like involved with the whole Nazi theme.
Right. And even if we didn't buy into it, like they still needed us to follow up on the story points. So, you know, if people see us like asking for Hitler, it doesn't mean we actually thought Hitler was there, but there were claims, so we just follow up on the claims.
Right. So I want to say that I don't think I really got anything from this place.
If I remember that, like the biggest, I want to say the biggest piece of evidence we got from this, and I don't know if he even went through because sometimes like they didn't show stuff, but we have what looked like a figure in the full spectrum camera sitting on one of the beds in one of the rooms, if I remember correctly. I think that was
yes, you're right.
Yeah, Barry had captured that.
That there's a figure. I want to say it involved me, actually, now that you mention that, because I remember getting a lot of hate mail after that aired.
Congratulations.
Well, you know, aren't we used to it?
For sure.
No, but because it looked funny because it was like meshed in with the IR from, I think it was Purcell's camera.
On the side, yeah.
And so people were like, it's just the IR from the camera. It wasn't, though. Part of the upper portion was.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, absolutely. The upper portion was, and that was what sucked so bad, because by the time it got to LA, they just saw this alien-headed figure sitting on a bed.
Right.
Even though we specifically pointed out, like, forget this part.
Yeah, look at the lower part.
Exactly, but on the episode, I remember they outlined like this stupid alien-shaped head, and it just made it really terrible.
Yeah. We don't have control over everything, but I remember that being a really cool piece of evidence when we were there, and like sitting there and kind of looking at it as a group, like, okay, well, the IR's here, but here is purple and blue, like outline. You can see like the legs in the bed and everything.
Right. Yeah, now that you mention that, I do remember that. And I remember, okay, so I feel like this is the episode that we had probably more team members than we've ever had before on one case, because
I think so.
We had Paul and then Ashley came back.
Right.
So it was me, you, Barry, Rob, Ashley, Joe, Paul. So there were 7.
Yeah, we were a big group that time.
Yeah. Because, like, when I joined GHI, it was just, the 5 of us.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of people, and I remember Paul Bradford, he was like, I have a new piece of equipment that can go in the most hard-to-reach areas. Yeah. It's an ATV, you know, all of this stuff, and it got stuck like 2 seconds after they like put it under.
They were called the paranormal tank. Yeah. It was like an RC car with like an IR camera strapped to it. Like, I don't understand. I wish it had turbo. It would make it go faster, but no. Yeah. They wanted to call it the paranormal tank.
We took team photos at this place.
Yeah. Yep.
We met the mayor.
He probably wasn't very busy.
No.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite locations, just in terms of aesthetic of what it looked like, because even I remember outside they had like a lot of like faded sea green, aqua blue, like round discs with like the tiny little like Venetian slats and everything in it, and it looked very much like a timepiece. You know, it was really cool.
I remember this place had a lot of those spiders that weave those webs that have like the tunnels in them, and they're
Oh
all
yeah.
over the walls and the ceilings. And I was just like,
Yeah, it was an itchy place.
yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I remember, so the stray dogs that were everywhere, we kind of took them in for like the week and a half or whatever that we were there. And you're right, like some of them came up to our apartment too, like for food. And I remember going to the market and buying them dog food. And the owner of like the apartments was pissed because he's like,
Right.
no, they're gonna keep coming back now.
I would think they did something though.
And there was something weird though, like where the apartments were, it also sat on like this bird sanctuary, or there was like a specific type of bird that lived there. And the only reason I remember this is because one of the stray dogs, it was like this red
Yeah,
dog. We called it like red dog.
Red, yeah.
Or bird dog. We called it bird dog.
But it was red in color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one guy was like, what are you doing to our birds? Like, you're killing our birds and they're protected species. And it was the dog.
Yeah.
The dog was like hunting birds.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Red used to hang around the production crew a lot, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And yeah, he got himself some birds. Well, yeah, that's why we try to feed them, you know? That's fine. It's fine.
A lot of really old cars, like from the 50s, that still look very intact. I remember all around town.
Yeah.
And I remember our fixer. We had a fixer, and she was like the Argentinian version of Rhea Perlman.
I don't recall her.
She was not friendly. She
No.
like hated us. I remember we were taking team photos, and the whole time she was like just looking at us like, I hate you and everything about you. Terrible. I think we deemed this one haunted.
Yeah.
But we didn't find Hitler, guys. Sorry.
Well, still out there somewhere, I suppose. Definitely not dead in a bunker somewhere. But yeah, but it was a good case. It was a good case. I remember like footsteps. There must have been some EVP or two. I don't recall, but I remember that full spectrum photo being one of the better things that we had seen on the road for a while. And I liked the sleepy little town. I thought it was kind of nice. And I like the dogs. I like Sassy. I hope she's doing well wherever she is.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been 12 years, so.
Shut up, Brandy. Sure, she's doing fine where she is.
In doggy heaven. Anyway.
Poor thing.
I have tons of pictures. I have like video of those dogs. Like they became like our family on the road.
Yeah, they were like a highlight of the trip. Like we don't get that type of like interaction or affection much, so it's nice.
Right.
A little furry little fan base running around all the time.
True.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, I mean that's all I kind of remember of this location.
Yeah, yeah, but one of the better cases, one of the cooler places we get to go. Didn't care about the storyboard that they were trying to put together for it, but overall it was a good time.
No, and I feel, yeah, I feel like there was like the Santa Claus tie-in in like one of the Sweden episodes or something that was ridiculous. And then I don't know if you were with us. I don't think you were, but it's like a good thing you left if you weren't there and you left before it happened, because it was another ridiculous situation where they were making us look for Robin Hood.
Yeah, I wasn't there for Robin
He was
Hood.
a legend. It's not, he wasn't a real person.
Yeah, oh well.
OMG.
You never know what they're going to ask you to do when you do these shows, so that's part of the TV magic, kids. Sure.
Okay, so that concludes Hitler's Ghost episode. And just make sure that you're, checking out the episodes on Peacock TV. I know a lot of other places have it, but you might have to pay for it. If you're one of the few people on the planet that actually own the DVD set,
Right.
tell us what's on them. Like, are there any cool, like, behind the scenes extras or bloopers or outings that like never made air?
I heard rumor that there were some behind the scenes like bonuses or whatever of us speaking poorly in other languages trying to do EVP sessions. I mean, at least they maybe put it on there. I don't know. Never got a copy of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well.
We got to live it and almost remember it.
All right. Well, see you next time, guys.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. See ya.